Welcome to Look Behind the Look, the new podcast that examines iconic looks in film, television, music, and fashion history. I'm your host, Tiffany Bartok. Hi guys, my guest today is Jon Lieckfelt, and he's been a makeup artist and I'd like to call him a hair sculptor in the industry for 30 years, working faithfully with stars like Fran Drescher and Heche, Maye Musk, and Deborah Gibbson, just to name a few. In putting together an intro for him today, I was looking up things about him and I found this quote of his. "I've always looked at the streets as my runway, never needing an excuse or a reason to show up fully in life." I thought this was so beautiful, and it actually perfectly illustrates Jon's life view. I met him through his partner, Gregory Arlt, at a performance of Dita Von Teese's at the Orpheum, and I was blown away with his commitment to glamour. And I soon realized that he wasn't just committed to glamour that night for a special event, but he's always showing up with this attention to detail. Every last detail is addressed when it comes to Jon, and you'll see in our interview how true that really is in his work. But you'll also be surprised to learn how much he does for himself artistically. Art direction, photography, hair, and makeup. I mean, we will be talking about a lot of these gorgeous hats that he wore on, in particular, his extraordinary shoot with Maye Musk, which was featured recently this month in Bazaar, Mexico. Jon has worked with Maye countless times, but you'll agree that this shoot is really something else, and we'll talk about how it all came together and a lot more. Don't forget to watch this on YouTube so you can see all of the work that we're discussing, and subscribe while you're there. I also want to mention that Jon has his own show on YouTube, and he just began it. It's called LieckMinded, and the link is in the show notes, and it's truly adorable. I highly recommend it. Take a look. So I'm here with Jon, and thank you so much for joining me today, Jon. He is a makeup artist and a hairstylist, and I mean, hair artist really is the proper, term for you, because you truly do sculpt hair like no other. It's just extraordinary artwork. And I am so happy that you're talking to me today about some of these fabulous looks that we've found, and I don't know where to even start. So I'm going to ask you to just sort of introduce yourself and tell me how you came to the business. Actually, I like to go all the way back. So let me hear it.
Well, as you know, my name is Jon Lieckfelt. Clumsy name, but I've practiced it for 50 years.
I think Lieckfelt.
Lieckfelt. And it doesn't sound
ask for anything better.
Well, who doesn't like felt, right? I mean, I make lots of stuff out of it, but it's spelled differently than it sounds, so it confuses a lot of people. So,
okay.
But yeah, I'm from Detroit, and I spent probably most of my career in Detroit owning apothecaries and making custom makeup and just doing my little thing in that pocket of the world where it was kind of like an oasis it was a wealthy suburb, and it wasn't lost on me that I was very privileged to be able to do what I do in that community with a group of women that could afford the prices I was charging and the services I was offering, and on a weekly basis. And there's not too many places in the country where that's true. So I built a nice business there, and then it just, the automotive industry crashed in Detroit, and it just sort of changed everything for me. And I decided to move to New York, and I was there for a little bit, and then I came to LA, and now I'm here.
I'm already completely blown away because I didn't know this Detroit thing. And I did not know that. And of course, how we met was we met on nothing glamorous or anything, just at Dita Von Teese's New Year's Eve show, who's also from Detroit. Yeah. And I did not know that these two fabulous, glamorous people that I know are both from what I previously only thought of as Eminem and 8 Mile. So,
right. There's a lot of creative, fun, interesting people that come out of Detroit. And,
fascinating.
Unless we talk about the fact that we're from there, you don't really realize it.
Yeah. So tell me about that Detroit. The last time I was there for the museum, the Motown Museum, I believe, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so I didn't see much. It was like a flight delay, and I just saw that and was out of there actually for the flight. But I didn't know about this suburban part of Detroit. And where did you work, in a department store or in a pocket?
Oh, and that's the unique thing about me is I've never worked for a major brand.
Oh,
I've never been that. I never took that path in hair and makeup where I aligned with a brand. I always have been self-employed where I call the shots, I direct things the way I like, and which led me to open my own apothecary and celebrate
oh.
many brands that so I was never really okay with just locking it into one brand. And so
Yeah,
many
I
of my
understand.
some of my peers that are in makeup and hair, most of them, that was their journey and that was their experience. And mine was very different. So in a lot of ways, it was a lot more work because I didn't have the corporate structure to fall back on. I didn't have those, comforts of insurance and all of those things that you get when you work for a corporate
Of
entity.
course. I mean,
Yeah.
that is it's divided into the union, right? And then for security, the union, the brands, and then the free fall freelance world. So you had to figure out how to make it work. You had to figure it out.
Yeah, I
That's
did.
amazing. Was
And
your
I didn't have
apothecary? Oh,
life.
sorry.
But when you own a business, you don't have a life. So that's the other part that
Yeah,
makes it kind of like, oh, should I keep
of
doing
course.
this? Because, you don't, when you work for a brand, you go to work and you do your thing and then you have your life when you go home. But when you own a business, you literally spend your after work hours at the business, making your business better and trying to come up with new and inspiring things for your customers. And,
Mm.
it's almost like feels like a 24/7 responsibility.
How did you stay inspired?
I've never had a lack for inspiration. I feel like I have an overflow of that, and it works to my advantage and a disadvantage because I, you know, it's reeling in those inspirations and focusing them in a way that makes a difference. That is the most challenging thing. But
Wow.
and so I often wonder, like, why am I, because literally my family are more wired to be sort of more business minded or to work for somebody else and not super creative, and I am on the other side of the spectrum from them. So I'm
Mhm.
you know
Do you think that because you grew up with structure, maybe you saw that you'd be safe somehow? Maybe, I don't know, maybe you felt like you would be able to figure out how to make it work. I wonder what made you feel safe enough to take those chances because
it never felt safe. It always
ah,
felt very dangerous and risky to be an artist when you literally have nothing to fall back on but yourself. And I grew up on a farm,
mhm.
very poor on welfare, and there was no role model for success for me. I just had a really hardworking mother that put herself through college and law school, and pulled herself up from her bootstraps and showed me what it looks like when you work hard and you fight for yourself and you put yourself first. And that was enough for me to realize that, if I wanted to be something in the world, I can just use her as my model and do it. So
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah,
Oh, it's always, you can always trace it back to the mommies.
right. Especially the single moms out there that are,
Yeah.
you know, fighting hard for themselves and their kids to, have a more comfortable, happy, joyous life, because let's face it, it's not an easy road.
No, no. So what year was it when the automotive business sort of depleted Detroit?
I
So
want to say it was like the maybe
yeah,
2015,
yeah,
2014, something like that. Maybe a
yeah.
little. I'm kind of a little fuzzy on the exact year, but it really, like, a lot of my clients, their wealth was rooted in the automotive
Of
industry, either
course.
making parts for the automotive industry or something involved with it, and so many of them moved away as a result. So
Yeah. And then that took you to New York. You were like, I gotta figure something out. So you went to New York.
yeah, it was a scary time because when you know something for so long and you've invested your everything into that, and especially a brick and mortar business
Yeah.
where, we all know there's so much cost involved with building out a space and filling it with all the stuff that you're selling to the world. And, so you have all that to think about. And literally in my 40s, I made the decision to start over and move to New York without a single client. And well, I had kind of a client, but it wasn't like a regular enough client to like support myself. And so I moved there anyways, and I just trusted the universe. And I started working with Garen right away, doing Fashion Week and, working on a couple of campaigns. And like I fell into working with some of my idols in the business. And I'm like, okay, this is a sign that the universe is guiding me, and it wants more from me. And I just need to practice listening. And that's what I did.
Oh, Garen must have just loved your mustache.
Well, Garen's great. He's so talented.
Yeah.
He's helped so many people. And it was a tricky spot for me because he knew that I was not at an assistance level. I'm new
right.
to the city. I'm new to New York. I'm new to, like, there's a lot of newness going on, but I'm not new to the business. So he knew that I had the skills already there, but the only way that he could bring me into his world was assisting him on fashion shows. I wasn't going to be the lead in that scenario like I was in Detroit. So,
and that must have been humbling for you.
Yeah, yes, exactly. At the same time, it was very humbling, but I was willing to go there. And I was willing to go there because I knew the greatness that I was in, working alongside him, and that felt like enough at the time, and I knew it wasn't going to be long term. I knew that, there was going to be another stepping stone, and, I didn't know what that was like, but, and then along came Gregory, and then I'm here in LA. So
Gregory Arlt, obviously, who the darling of Mac and all things fabulous, and Gwen Stefani and Dita, and that's amazing. Were you there were you with Garen at the same time as Jared Roberts?
I was.
Oh, yeah. I love Jared.
Jared was his right-hand man, his assistant full time. And I would just come on for special things like Fashion Week and stuff. So
fabulous.
Actually, really, he wasn't doing hair with Garen at the time I was working with them. He was being groomed to fall into that role. And then shortly after, he started working on stuff with him, but he was still in that very, like, kind of, I'm new, that green kind
right.
of space.
I think that's the time I met him. And then I saw, some of the work that he's done since, and it's phenomenal. Of course, he's great.
Well, but isn't it? Doesn't take people on that he doesn't see something in,
Yeah, I mean, you really feel special being seen by Garen, and you sort of think, because he's so severe and intense looking and has such a legacy, it's sort of scary, and then you realize, like, oh, this person is so damn sweet, and that is something that people don't have necessarily anymore unless you're truly great, I feel like, and secure in your job.
Well, I think he knows too that when someone's truly talented, they don't stay in that role for very long as working under somebody. Like, they always have a need to shine and be bigger and have their dreams come true, just like Garen had that dream at one time. It's like in the role that he's in as being a leader in the industry is doing a disservice to yourself, because I was in that role in Detroit where I groomed many artists to be who they are, and played a big role in the careers that they have now. And I knew that it wasn't going to be forever. Just because you invest yourself in these people and you hold their hand and you guide them, it doesn't mean like that you own them or that you have any sort of hold on them. So
do you ever feel sad when they leave, though?
Always.
It always grieve.
Well, it always feels like a betrayal in some way when it first happens, but then you realize that they too have to, fly and be the artist that they dreamed to be. And who am I to stand in the way of that? So
it's a hard process.
Yeah.
So you've sent over so many amazing images. I know some of your favorite clients are Fran Drescher and Mimi and Heche, and like I don't even know where to pick the beginning, but I do know that I couldn't take my eyes off this Anne Heche photo.
Oh yeah.
Where can you talk a little bit about this beautiful idea to
Well,
have these dangling
uh,
artifacts?
absolutely. I mean, Anne truly is one of the few clients I've worked with in my life where she trusts the artist standing in front of her, whether their hair or makeup. And particularly if you are privileged enough to work with her many times, and she doesn't she doesn't live in that place of anxiety where she's trying to control the process.
Uh-huh.
And I love that about a client when and if it happens, and it doesn't happen that often, but you always have to respect the client's limitations. But Anne lets me and lets Gregory be the artists that we are. And if I have an idea, if I see the outfit, and the outfit always inspires what I'm going to do, I immediately know what needs to happen. I know the shape that needs to happen. I know the mood, the influence, all of that, because when you know your references, and you have to know your references in this industry if you're going to truly
Yes.
do the work in a way that's compelling. I knew when I saw her dress that night that it had to be a kind of a chandelier type inspired hairstyle, and it shouldn't be volume, and it shouldn't be, there's a lot of things that it shouldn't have been. And so her hair was very short at the time, and it was for an award show, red carpet moment.
Mhm, mhm.
And I remember it kind of went viral at the time, and she went on the show The Chew after that award show, and they brought attention to it on the show and everything, like, and it was a moment. But it was fun because I actually sewed her hair with embroidery thread, with the red embroidery thread, like a burgundy, and I made her hair look like it was long, and braided up into a kind of an updo style, and her hair was like above her shoulders at the time. And I'm like,
Oh
so
my
it was that sort of tricking the eye into, thinking that her hair was long.
oh my God. So did you think you thought, let's have these things dangling. How do we do that? And then came up with the idea backwards like that. Yeah.
No, it was kind of like I always carry this sort of bag of tricks, like
Oh, you
charm,
do. You have it.
jewels, and like all kinds of
Ah!
things, potentially ribbons and things that you could work into the hair given the right moment. And it felt like the right moment to do those charms in her hair that, when the head moved, those would move with it, and kind of
Wow.
her dress was very kind of Asian Indian, kind of like had a very ethnic kind of influence to it. And I knew that just typical pretty hair wasn't going to be enough. I'm really tired of the, not no knocking anyone that does this kind of work, but for me, I'm tired of the beach waves. I'm tired of the safe hair. I'm not into safe hair. I mean, I'll do it if a client asks for it, but I'm always going to push something a little more courageous. So
Beachy waves. They always sit down and say, how about, like, it's a new idea. How about, you know what? I'm thinking beachy waves.
right. Oh, that's an idea.
Yes,
Yeah, people.
that's what I was thinking. No, 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 no. When that seems like a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Like you're having fun. Is how do you? What is the importance or the level of importance on having fun doing what you do? Like, does it ever feel when it feels stressful? Do you go like, something's wrong? What's making this stressful, and how do you deal with that emotion?
It's interesting, and I think it depends on like what period of time I was in my career. Like when I was in my 20s and 30s, I didn't have the bandwidth to challenge a client in the nicest possible way. And
Mhm.
the best way you challenge a client and push them out of whatever it is they're going through in their brain. And when
Right.
like when you're working with entertainers, there's usually some level of anxiety or
Right.
nervousness or um, neurosis or, something is going on. And I've gotten really good at zeroing in on what it actually is going on in the moment with them, and trying to have the kind of dialogue with them that allows them to not ball up and go into a safe route, to open up and, trust me to design a look that will be celebrated in the media. And that's always my goal. I don't always win. I don't always get my way, but that's always what I try to do. And I think I've always been invested in the psychology of human beings. And I think when you work with human beings as closely as I do, your work gets better, your experiences with clients get better when you have a deep understanding of kind of how people think and what makes them do what they do and act how they act, and practice not taking things personal, and all that stuff. It really does help us in our work.
That's really a beautiful gift to be able to sense that and redirect it. That's the challenge.
Yeah, because if you don't root yourself in that knowledge, you as an artist, me as an artist, anybody as an artist is going to take it personal. They're going to get angry. They're going to push back. It's not going to be pretty. And then you might lose a client over it. But if you really understand that usually 99% of the time, it is not about us. It is about whatever it is they're going through in their day, whether it's not being able to control enough or whatever, they had a fight with their boyfriend. Like, you don't know, half the stuff, the reasons why they are making your job difficult. But, it's an important tool to have.
For sure. So talking about Christie Brinkley, is this a shoot that you did with Sandy Linter?
Yes.
Yay! I knew it.
Yeah. Sandy's been her makeup artist, as a lot of people know, for a very long time, and does a beautiful job with her. I've done Christie's makeup once or twice, but Sandy primarily is her go-to. And I had the privilege of doing her hair for a couple of things. I did her for a pajama campaign with her and her daughter Sailor. I've worked with the whole family.
Yes.
I've worked with all of her kids. I've worked Alexa Ray. I've worked with a lot, when she did her residency at the Carlisle, and we've done a lot of stuff with the whole family. The only person I haven't worked with is Billy Joel. So, but everyone else,
that's okay.
Yeah.
And
so, so that was a pajama campaign. We did her book, the portion of her book that she came out with. We shot at her house in the Hamptons. So.
Yes. I remember seeing that shoot on Instagram. Was it as fun as it appeared to be? I mean, it's all true. It's fun. She is
a beautiful home and a beautiful little oasis there in the Hamptons. And, it's not a bad day when you get to spend it out in that neck of the woods. So
what do you think is her secret? I mean, to that longevity, what do you see it to be?
I see it to be, she's another person from Michigan.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So she still has family.
Okay. So Michigan is the definite must. You must.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think she just knows how to, I think being, positive and, uplifting and, joyous always helps people look and appear and come across young. And I think that knowing how to present, she knows all the tricks, right down to what pantyhose to wear to make your legs look younger and all that stuff. So
stuff you would never think about. Yeah, for sure. I
think the average person doesn't know which pantyhose make your legs look younger. So, but she's got advantages to those tricks, over the years. So
I'm afraid I've reached the point where I don't know that everybody knows what pantyhose are, and I'm scared about that. This is Lisa Rinna, and I remember you being brought up on, because of course I religiously watch, of course. Even I feel like the wig was a whole character on one of the seasons recently. And
it was.
Yeah, right. And she named it, and she was praising you, and that must have been a lot of fun. But I mean, another
viral moment with the hairstyle. Yeah, people literally had never seen her in that style, and it was for the Shoe Dazzle event. I think it was the finale episode that for that season that hairstyle was revealed. And when I work with Lisa on her, I like to work within wigs and hairstyles that are in the color range of her natural hair, and really just kind of work with haircuts and styles that are different. And so not everyone has that approach, but for me, I like that. And so we went that way with two different styles, and she does like to name all of them.
Yes.
So that we named that one Heidi, because it Heidi Klum's hair at the time.
Yes.
So
yes. And you're right about the colors. They really do look natural and beautiful. And I love her with bangs, that are like free like that. That is a perfect example of pushing back on someone who is set in their ways. She had her trademark haircut for, her whole life. And then that must have been a moment.
It's about who you surround yourself with. It opened her mind up when she got on the show and started being friends with Erica Jane. And Erica Jane works with a lot of hair pieces in her looks, and changes them up a lot, and is fearless when it comes to that. And I think that rubbed off on her, and she was willing to
That's a good point.
Play around with that a little bit more than ever. And so yeah,
you can't help but be inspired around Erica Jane. That's for sure. And then of course Debbie Gibbson, who is everyone's favorite, and I know she loves makeup. And did you do her makeup? Yeah,
I did her makeup and hair. Yeah, for that show. Yeah, it was a show that was on. It was a talent competition show that was on Nickelodeon that we did.
She must be so much fun, and she must be like very flexible, I feel like. Or am I wrong?
Yeah, and I think that she has opened up a lot. I think it also, when you first work with someone, you don't get the level of trust out of them that you get when you work with them for a period of time. And I've been working with Debbie for a few years now, and I think each time I do work with her, she's more and more open to ideas that I have. So
can you feel the moment when they start to go, oh, okay, you know me, know what I want to be and present, and I trust you? Can you feel that moment?
I can feel that moment, but certain people can change. Like once it's not uncommon for once a look has been defined and the clothes have been picked out and everything is set, for them to let anxiety or some other thing derail them and push them into a safe look or a different look. Like they start second guessing, maybe I shouldn't do this hair. Maybe we should just do something else that I've done before that I'm comfortable with, or, so sometimes that new style isn't right for the moment that they're going through in their heads. So another exercise, don't take it personal. They're feeling a certain kind of way, and I'm just gonna do whatever makes them feel prettiest and happiest. So
it's, I always find that when you went, however you felt, if you felt like you look great, if it's regular people, if you felt like you look great at prom, that's the lipstick that you hide in for the rest of your life. Like I'll see my friends be like, getting ready for their wedding, and then they put on like this bronzy 90s color lipstick. And I'm like, oh, no, this is the wedding. It's not prom. Like, this is another time in your life. We have to adjust. You still look beautiful. It's just a different thing.
Yeah. Well, there are those women out there that live their life in the way that they look. I call it their last best look, because they kind of like stay in that place where they felt the prettiest in their life, and they never evolve past that.
Yes.
So it's kind of like
the last best look.
Yes. It's a standing in your way moment. And we all do it, but it's I think the power is realizing when we do it and moving beyond it, so that we don't get accused of it.
Yes.
Best look is beautiful, then, and there's no denying it, then stay with it,
True. In some cases.
Look at Sophia Loren. She's never really moved beyond
That's true.
that makeup and that hair and that vibe. You know, we know her as that, and Audrey Hepburn, and you know, she's had a lot of hairstyles, but you know, always classic in her
true.
makeup, and you know, so there's certain moments I think when it does work, but usually not.
Yes. This is a work of art, obviously. Can you tell me about this image?
That is that's Gia Genevieve, and she is a really beautiful model slash she's been in Dita's shows. She was in her show on New Year's Eve when you were there.
Oh my goodness.
She did the bathtub act, you know, in the show. And
of course.
she's been a guest model. She's been a lot of things, but she's known for her very voluptuous sort of figure, and her curves, you know, very celebrated in that sort of burlesque vintage world for that. She's very like Jane Mansfield kind of vibe.
And you constructed this hairpiece?
So I worked for like 12 hours on that hair. Yeah, well, it was a wig that had, you know, so many things to build it to that size. But it was a wig that I was called to sort of save the day and create this wig for this vision that the photographer had. I remember I was about to do Adam Lambert's video the very next morning, early in the morning. When I agreed to save the day, I didn't realize it was going to take 12 hours. But once you're in, you can't back out. So I stayed with it. I had no sleep. I ended up styling Adam Lambert's video and doing.
Oh, my God.
Those are the backstories that you just see the imagery and you're like, oh yeah, that's beautiful, but you don't really, so many people don't know the backstory. I think when you are given an opportunity and you know who you're working with and you know what they bring to the table, even if it involves no money, you show up, because
of course
the thought of creating an image or, you know, a beautiful work of art, we'll give away ourselves to do it. And it's so rare that we truly get free reign to create and, you know, not be art directed by somebody. So that's
well, yeah, because you are a true art director. I mean, you really have such a strong vision. And obviously we were talking earlier about how, you know, you never really colored inside the lines, you know, never had to answer to a brand or whatever. So I just love that you don't come across at all you don't come across as a difficult artist to me at all, especially even when you're talking about your visions and the execution of them. You're not, you know, selfish or self-important. And I think that's really beautiful. That's difficult, you know, have a strong vision.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I never raise my voice. I'm always like the super even keel, but I've always known what I want and I've always known what I like. And I think when you invest yourself and you do the research and you know about the history of fashion and the history of performance and art and all those things, and you invest in all those worlds, it inspires us. It inspires our own thoughts. And I think to go enter into a creative situation and have somebody say, just do your thing, is the ultimate in creativity. Of course, it's an exception. Usually there, you know, especially when it's a paid job, there's an art director involved and you're following their vision and you're just using your skills to do it. But when you can really just do it all, that's like, to me, the premium in what I do. So, well, because my brain's wired like that. My brain's wired for the whole picture. And I haven't met too many people in my life where that's the case, where they literally can see a vision and know and figure out how to execute every aspect of that vision at a level where they're all meeting each other at the same place
and satisfying each other, you know. Yeah, because somebody, you know, you know that feeling when 75% of the people aren't getting what they want, but that 25% person is really excited and you're like, wow, we're doing this for this guy.
Yeah, because I work well with Gregory and some other artists, but I love when I can do hair and makeup both because it's one vision. It's not me having to meet halfway with someone else's vision, and I know exactly what the end result's going to be. So that's, to me, and oftentimes people don't trust that about artists. People
I
in
know.
so often let us do that because they think, well, how could you possibly be good at both? Like something's got to be suffering. And so in this town of Hollywood and even New York, they've trained artists to separate those skills on a paid job at least. But that's why when we do our own projects creatively, it's like it's our chance to show, well, you're wrong, I can do all these things, and kind of challenge the system, because I'm always that guy that asks all the questions, challenges every no, challenges everybody that throws rules at me. I'm always like, no, there's a way.
There's a way.
I'll find it.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, it takes a lot of bravery and self-confidence. So then you went to the after you took 12 hours to build something that should be in a museum, you then just went to the Adam Lambert shoot, and that was probably a 20-hour day. Yeah.
It was a really long day, and shooting music videos is not a short day at all.
It's not for the faint of heart. This is so hot, I can't even deal.
That was him with extensions in his hair. Okay. And I love him with long hair. It's one of my favorite looks on him.
Yeah.
I love that time period for how he was presenting with the Gucci suit and the whole 70s glam vibe, but then a little influence of like the Baroque period.
Yes.
Sometimes I feel like 70s and the Baroque opulence kind of overlap. I feel like if you look at 70s furniture, and even though some people look at 70s furniture and find it tacky in the way that it was done, you can always paint 70s furniture like black or a color and make it look cool, because that opulence and that detail is there in the sort of tacky design that was around back then. But you can transform it, and it does look kind of Baroque when you're done with it. So I always feel like the 70s can overlap really well.
Yes, very Prince.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what
I now am looking at these Miss May. These are so extraordinary. Can you talk about this shoot and like the design, the vision of it?
That was a shoot that Gregory and I approached Maye Musk to do during the pandemic, towards, not the height of the pandemic. We were all very safe and everything. And but I've been working with Maye for about 8 years, and we met in New York, doing shoots with Mike Ruiz, and some of those shots with her with the white hair and the paper outfits. That was some of the ones we did in New York. And she was always just game to do anything. She was never, again, like Anne Heche, she was never a person that said, do this, do that, or I won't do this, or I won't do that. She was just like, you're the creator, just use me as the
what a gift
subject to do whatever you need. So that's what we decided. We were going to approach her. She happened to be super busy at the time, and so we split into 2 days, and we photographed it ourselves. I did all the set design, I did all the wardrobe styling, I did all the hair. And
so this is just a test shoot,
and
like basically a spec.
It was just
test
like
shoot.
A fun shoot. Yeah, just a fun little thing that we just to keep our creative juices flowing during the pandemic. And then we decided that we would shop it around and see if anyone would be interested in this little thing that we did. And Harper's Bazaar picked it up, and just really
cannot wait,
shocked and elated all of us. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So
What is that process like of shopping something around? Just to explain, because some of the people that listen are interested in like the intricacies of, they don't even know what makeup artists and hairstylists do. So, which is amazing. There's the other spectrum.
It doesn't always. Yeah. Well, it doesn't always work out when in that scenario. I think we're in a time when content is, magazines and platforms are hungry for content, and it's expensive to create content, especially during a pandemic when you have to pay for everyone involved to get tested and all that. So I think if there's something that comes across their lap that's compelling and relevant and it is rooted in current fashion, and that's the key, is if you're going to do a shoot that you're shopping around, it has to be current fashion that was recently created, like for the season coming up, or by designers that are considered more couture. I threw in some vintage pieces, and that was even risky to do because oftentimes they won't run a story if it's vintage mixed in, but they did.
In the accessories, the vintage pieces were the accessories. And then the designer, where did you find these clothes?
Some of them were from the residency, B. Ackerland's studio in West Hollywood, and some of them were Julia Clancy, who has also shown at the residency in the past, and she is the master of caftans and turbans, and Madonna and Beyonce and J-Lo. They've all worn her stuff, and so she's a dear friend of mine, and she agreed to contribute her designs to the shoot, and I love featuring small designers whenever I can, ones that aren't your mainstream ones, and they always need the attention and the push and in the awareness from the public of how genius they are and how creative they are. So I wanted to try and incorporate those designers in the story that we were telling. So we just created a character, really. We decided she was this sort of entertainer that is now like this sort of socialite, eccentric woman, and we built the looks around that story. And I always find it important to decide who the person's going to be in a fashion store before you start shopping around for the fashion and what set you're going to build, because I think doing a fashion shoot is telling a story. I've always thought about it that way. Anyways,
yeah, you have to, right? You can really see when it hasn't been thought of. Like,
yes. How often have we seen where it's super disjointed, and you're like, they just pulled whatever they could find, and whoever said yes, they just pulled it.
Yes, yes.
I love when it's super intentional. I love when you can tell a fashion story is very intentional and well thought out and all of that. So
everything is totally in character. I feel like, and this is hair is my very favorite. I love it.
I love that one.
Do you put it on and then put the turban on? Do you put the turban on and then, okay. All right.
And what's interesting is because there's so many times where I'll repurpose hair that I've used like a while ago, like that hair that you just showed was the same wig that I used on Maye 7 years ago when we did the hair that went off with the paper outfit.
The white
same one, just brushed out and restyled.
Stop it.
Yeah, that was another test shoot we did that ended up being the cover of a magazine and a spread inside.
How lucky is that? That's wonderful.
And so often our little creative test shoots turn into that, like the one that I did with Rose McGowan and Mike Ruiz. That was a test shoot that ended up on the cover of a magazine. And there was a separate shoot that we did where I turned Rose into an alien, like a glam alien.
I saw that.
And so there's that one too. I think it was in the same story though. Yes, she was just, again, Rose, if she believes in your creativity and she trusts your vision, she's just like, go for it. Like, don't play it safe, just do it. And
Right. She seems
she
like
had the flu.
quite the daredevil.
Yeah, she is. And she had the flu when we did that. Like, she was coming down with the flu, and I knew that I was losing her. Like, she was not going to be able to like go a very long day. And so I knew that I had to like make this very specific, intricate makeup happen in a time frame that we could get some good shots from it in the end. And so she was a trooper, and she pushed through and did it.
So she did a test shoot when she had the flu. God bless.
Yeah,
That's
she
amazing.
was coming down with it, like yeah. And it's funny, I met Rose chatting with her online, and we had never met. And I was on a train to Philadelphia doing a custom wig for a client, and we talked on the train the whole way to Philadelphia. And she was like, I wouldn't be talking to you if I think that you were interesting or creative. And I'm like, oh, well, that's good. Well, we should do a photo shoot. And then that's how it happened. So
that's wonderful. That's kismet.
Never met her before in my life, and I went down and like met her at the Bowery Hotel, and we just sort of conjured up this little thing and that's the result of what
That's
happened.
Wonderful. That's wonderful.
That was for Shirley Manson. We shot that about a year and a half ago, and it was for a magazine. And the concept was she had just lost her mother, and it was about how a lot of times when people pass away, you go to view them in their passing, and they don't look anything like the person that you remember when they were alive. And so it was like so often the funeral home gets it wrong, and they do like the hair and makeup completely not like the person looked in their life.
Oh, I love it.
So we did a shoot based on that, and we kind of like staged her death through the photo shoot. And even there was even a shot of her on the mortician's table, like her whole dead body. And it was pretty morbid. There's parts that were very glam about that shoot, and then parts that were very morbid. I didn't post the morbid shots.
Yeah.
I think they would do anything for my book, but I think it was more beneficial to the photographer.
Of course.
Me. So yeah. But I just post the pretty ones.
And speaking of pretty, this one is just absolutely gorgeous. Is that a promo for a show?
Minnie Driver, that was for Emmy Magazine when she was at her show. Speechless was up for an Emmy. And so
can I just say that Emmy Magazine, I don't know why, they have the best photographer. I don't know, or photographers. I don't know. The pictures always look so beautiful.
Yeah, they know who to hire. They, there's so many great ones here in LA. So they have their pick. And yeah, she
really good.
She was pretty glam in that shoot. She looked good. And I worked with Minnie for quite a while. She's living back in London now, so I don't see her so much. But yeah, she was. I took her hair color from really dark brown to
you did that.
That honey color, that caramely honey color that she had for a while. I think she's back to dark now because it's hard to find people that can really understand how to do that. She's got very specific hair that if you don't approach it right, it doesn't behave. So
it's so funny how such a youthful makeover, I mean, it can make people look like, when you did it, made her look so youthful, but it can, if it's just one tone off, it can age you. It
could be harsh. Like we're the same age. And I think as we age, we have to reassess, how we're presenting. And I always think that as women age, a softer version of who they were in their youth is a good idea. I mean, Jacqueline Smith is a good example of that. Like, she still looks stunning, and her hair is not as dark as it was on Charlie's Angels, but she still has some depth in there, but she has lightness going through it now.
Well, what is your secret with Fran? Because you make Fran look so youthful. She's definitely, I mean, she looks like 30. What's going on? What is your secret there?
Well, Fran lives a very healthy, organic lifestyle, so that helps. But it's really just, I think, she's not the size 02 that she was on The Nanny. And I think when women get, she's in her 60s now. And I think when women get older, you have to put on a little bit of weight to keep your face looking
Oh, that's
youthful.
true.
All of that. Otherwise, you're going to look like the crypt keeper. And so so that's part of it. And I think, knowing which hair makeup to hire, and Gregory has done her makeup for many years and knows her face and, takes it to that place where it needs to be. And I've learned her hair over the years, and it's just, using all the tricks, and
it moves so well and it looks so fresh and beautiful. You guys do a great job. I mean, I know she is a lovely, positive, it's a youthful person, but what you're doing is certainly helping for sure.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about this?
That is a photograph that I took.
You are a very good photographer.
Well, not many people know that I've been a photographer since I was in my 20s.
Really?
And it's an art form that I play with and use, kind of bookend it with my hair and makeup. And I've done it very kind of quietly. I even have my own photo studio for years, and in Detroit. And I focused on beauty and fine art photography. And so I pull it out as a skill when I think it is required, and when I feel like I can't get the vision captured any other way. But it's a lot of work to do all of it, but she's a girl that we adore, and she's kind of become our muse, and she's in a lot of our photos on our social media. Her name's India Haley Barton, and she's kind of become one of Ellen von Unworth's muses. She's like got a face that doesn't have a bad angle, and she just is kind of like an it girl right now in LA in terms of beauty stuff, and people love her face. So you can
very
take it so many
fun.
places. So that was
yes.
I did this very 1920s kind of thing with her for that shoot.
I love it. So did you do hair and makeup on that one?
I did. Her head is shaved. The whole sides and back are shaved.
Oh,
It's so much hair that even just the top of her head
was
more hair
enough.
than most. Well, I put a wig on her for that,
right?
And top of her hair to style her hair when they do her hair. But I put a wig on her, and I styled her in a very 1920s, 30s kind of way. And there's another photograph where she's in black with a hat, like a disc hat.
Yes.
Do you remember when Stranger Things was a thing and everyone was fixated on the character Barb?
Yes. That's Barb.
That's Barb.
Shut up. Wow, Barb is hot.
I know. Doesn't she give you I send you there's a few pictures of her, and in one of them she looks like Marilyn Monroe when she was Norma Jean, because we all know Marilyn had kind of rich hair. Yeah. But it goes to show you, Barb, Shannon Purser is her name, and she's beautiful, but her character became famous from looking nerdy and not so attractive. But
then she was like, wait,
a beautiful girl.
I want to show everyone that I'm not just Barb. That's amazing to be a part of a full transformation like that. That's really special.
Gregory and I were part of her first red carpet moment too. At the Emmys, and first time she got dressed up and walked down a red carpet, we did her. So we did her in the 1920s kind of way.
Has there ever been a time when you're working that you feel like just overcome with emotion, and like you're part of somebody's life in such an intimate way that it overcomes you?
I mean, it also too, like, I have to get into a zone when I'm working with people, especially if I'm working with people that I grew up watching and enjoying what they were putting out in the world. Like, I have to get into the zone where I'm like, they're just a person.
Okay.
They're just a person,
Yes.
I can't personalize it, or so I wouldn't be able to do my work. But then maybe after the fact, it, dawns at me like what just occurred. But
yes,
there are moments like, but it's nice to be a part of the beginning of someone's success.
Of course. course. Of course.
There's always that hope that you're going to ride that train with them. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does.
I know. They can sort of, I feel they can feel it when you put it out there too much, but like sometimes you just want to be like, I want to be a part of everything with you now that we've had this moment together. But you don't want to like express it too much because you don't want them to freak
I think
out.
there's value in, are you there?
Yes.
I think there's value in someone understanding their brand, as an entertainer. And I think when you stick with the same glam team and you trust their vision for you and you trust what they do, I think that is more powerful than anything. I think it's when you hop around to too many different ones, you don't get that continuity in your look that I think is important.
Very true.
Especially with certain entertainers. And I think that in today's climate, you don't get a lot of that. There's not a lot of that loyalty that used to be there in Hollywood.
Yeah, it has changed, right? Because it's like people don't fly each other in and all that.
Yeah, now there's glam teams on each coast, instead of, there was not too long ago, a day when someone's LA glam would fly to New York to do jobs with them in New York. And now there's just no budget for that. So you're really just kind of stuck in the town that you live in, to work with them, in that place. So not so bad.
Stuck in Hollywood.
Not so bad. It's a good place to be stuck in.
Exactly. I want to hear more about your show. Can you tell me about the origin of it?
It was my way. This sort of idea came to me during the pandemic when we all had time to cocoon and slow down, that, I do so many things. And so I decided, how fun would it be to push myself into that vulnerable space where I allow myself to be on video. My mindset is vintage and, knowing the story behind why I like things.
Mm-hmm.
And so the motto is, before we create, we educate. And it's just fun. It's just working with things that people, A, don't know the history about, and B, don't know how to create, and C, it would have never occurred to them to do it in that way. Sometimes I have conversations with my 8-year-old self and my 10-year-old self and my 12-year-old self, and you remind yourself of those dreams that you had when you're living in a space where it all felt so impossible and so unreachable. And in those moments, that's when the gratitude sets in, and it's not lost on me.
That makes me want to cry. That's really beautiful. Super beautiful. Oh, Jon, thank you so much for talking to me today. I can't wait to share this conversation until your shoot is out and everybody's tuning into your show. And I'm going to have all the links about how to subscribe and check it out on the podcast notes, show notes, and on the YouTube. And I look forward to seeing so much more from you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jon.
Great talking to you.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure.
Next week is Lunachicks badass Theo Kogan. Need I say more? She needs no introduction. The Lunachicks have a book coming out June 1st, and so Theo sat with me to talk about the genesis of it and tons more. There are some surprises that you won't want to miss either, like pop-up guests. Remember, if you like what you hear here, I'd love it if you spread the word, because it means so much to me and it really makes a difference. See you soon, guys. Bye. Look Behind the Look is a Vinyl Foot production, written by me, your host, Tiffany Bartok, produced by Jace Bartok, edited by Nicole Tucker. If you're interested in learning more, find our video version on the YouTube channel, Look Behind the Look Podcast. There you can see rare photos and clips from our guests. And please follow us on Twitter at LookBehindPod and Instagram at LookBehindTheLook. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. And tell your friends and spread the word. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or any podcatcher of your choice. Thanks for listening to Look Behind the Look.